Dude, I like Luminox. I might even love them. I might. I like their watches. I like how they look. I like the tritium vials. I like how freaking lightweight they are. I mean, this is a company that gets SAWC. I guess that's why so many military units use and have officially adopted Luminox watches. They don't weigh anything. The models I'm going to put on the table right now, here they come. 8809, the Orange Diver, and 8802, the Black Ops, weigh 2 ounces each. That's like nothing. So that makes it backpackable, hikeable, diveable. Well done, Luminox. I like all the different models they do. I really do. All high quality, carbon fiber reinforced polymer cases. It's freaking cool. They're technical. I mean, this is me looking through their online catalog. I'm like, oh, dude. Well, I looked at these watches. I'm like, yeah, I love those. Obviously, we got them into inventory. Then I saw like the Point Man 8820. I'm like, that's cool. That is awesome. If they weren't so expensive, that's a downside. Yeah, it is. I'd own more. I can't afford it, but I like them. Century 0200 series, very cool. Nighthawk F117 playoff 6421, very, very cool. And these will scroll in no particular order. The very famous and adopted, highly adopted Navy SEAL series at 3500. I love those too. They're sick. And the 1920 series, a field watch, what is it called? The Atacam or Altacam? Can't read my own writing. It's expensive. I mean, those are $340, and for me, that's expensive. It kind of exceeds my high value price point of $300. But dude, that watch is awesome. Look at the legibility of the 1920. It's amazing. Now, I do love Luminox, but that doesn't mean if something goes south, I won't bring it to tabletop, because I'm not associated with them at all, nor did they comp these watches. I use ad money and Patreon money to go buy this stuff. That way I can speak my mind. And I think we need a tabletop decoration up here. What shall we do? We need a knife of some sort. How about we do the paramilitary in orange? Just because it's here. There you go, in the background. Yeah, so this will be the tabletop review and not on those other cool models. Maybe one day. The 8820, 0200, 6421, 3500, maybe one day. This is on the 8800 series. So this is the Orange Diver. I love that look. That's cool. And the Black Ops 8802. We're going to start off with aesthetics, as I'm just kind of freewheeling the watch reviews. I think it's fun for me and the audience. We'll hit most of the things. I may forget one or two items, but it won't matter that much. Let's look at the most important thing for a watch, honestly, at least when we're not talking about smartwatches, is aesthetics. How does it look? How does it make you feel? These could probably and correctly be considered operators' choices of watches. And there's some other companies like MTM that do that, and I actually like their watches. They're very cool aesthetically as well. They're also somewhat expensive, somewhat heavy. But I think when we're talking about Luminox, that this is a brand, among some others, they're definitely not the only one, that are really used by military guys and gals out there. By police officers, first responders, Luminox. And here's a wrist I found. So this guy has the same watch. This is the 8809 Orange. And I have a buddy who is a first responder, and he wears one and he swears by it. He loves it. I mean, you can see some wear on his watch, that is. And he has nothing bad to say about it, which will not always be the case when you jump into Amazon. You'll find people will complain about everything and swear that it's the biggest piece of crap ever and tell you not to buy it, every watch. But in my own experience, I would just absolutely buy with confidence on these watches if you're good with the price. And I said at the outset, the Luminox brand, it's usually, not always, you can find some good bargains in Amazon. There's another one like the SXE I got for like, dang, it was cheap. But you got to watch for those, and you'll see them. But generally, it's going to be around $200 each one of these models. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. If you go through an so-called authorized Luminox dealer, it's going to be a lot more. I wouldn't anticipate any warranty claims if you're worried about it, but you never know. I mean, they are mechanical devices. Anything can go wrong. The sizing on these is about ideal. I had measured it at 4310 earlier. And again, it's a very svelte, easy to carry along, 2 ounces, both of these watches. Which ones do you like best for, again, how they look? Well, I'm a sucker for orange. Obviously, we got the TNP shark patch in orange. I've got a freaking, and this was purely accidental, the Paramilitary 2 in orange. This is a Cutlery Shop special, heavily worn. Love it. I just love orange. I mean, it's a cool color, and it blends really well with black, and it blends really well with gray. So if you care, you know, I love this orange one. Super cool. Now the Black Ops one is probably my preferred one because it's not totally blacked out. As you go into the Luminox catalog, you will see ones that very blacked out. You can't see anything on it, and that's maybe a little bit too cuckoo for me. I want some legibility, and this one is showing a gray face, black numerals, and I like the completely written out numerals. I like how it looks, the simplicity, the legibility of it. I prefer it. The inner dial, of course, is showing military time, but you can still see the hands. Tritium vials on the hands, tritium vials on the chapter markers here on the case. So we're going to look at that here in a second in the dark. You can kind of check it out. More or less dark enough so you can see it. Aesthetically, between these two, which one do I prefer? It's a really close race. In fact, I'm just going to have to call it a tie. I love the orange, but this one, the Black Ops, the 8802, I don't know, I just dig it. It's got that subdued military look, and I'm wearing pig gloves, the old style, and I like these too. So I like a gray. This wasn't planned, but I'm showing you this for a gray, and I'm wearing these so I don't put my moisture all over the crystal as we start handling them. I love gray. Gray and black are cool. So which one? Either one's a win. I don't know. The orange one makes me happy. The Black Ops makes me happy. Cool. And since we're looking at the face, we'll look at this one too. The Luminox branding on the face. It's just excellent. It really is. I love the Luminox logo. There used to be the catalog. Do you guys remember Brigade Quartermaster? Yeah, in the day, like in the 80s, I used to thumb through the Brigade Quartermaster, and I think they had Luminox watches in there when I was a kid that I always lusted after. If it wasn't the 80s, maybe it was the 90s when I was a poor college student, and then my earlier days in the Air Force, and I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy them, but man, I sure dreamt about it. I think that's where I first saw these watches, and I liked them. You know, am I being a sucker for the marketing, which says these are military/operators watches? Yeah, probably. I'm not going to say I'm not, but sometimes I like it. I'll tell you that. I like it. Notice the deep face on them. They kind of set down, and I like the orange they chose. It's not a glossy orange. It's a completely matte orange. Waterproof to 200 meters. These are serious dive watches, proven by me, by the way. Like I said, I mean, if there's a failure, I'm going to find out. With some of these really serious adventure watches, I dove it to 40 feet, not 200 meters, but that's good enough. I think that's a realistic distance, and it's a non-screw down crown. So some guys may show up and go, well, you know, that's not a real dive watch. I wouldn't trust it. Well, dude, I dove it. So, and I don't think a lot of people take this as deep as I did. And I took it to 40, and it was fine. No water leakage, and actually no condensation, because I have dove in those very cold waters off California in the Pacific Ocean, and sometimes you will get condensation showing up because these are not completely dry inside. And but other than that, I mean, I didn't know it any. And I'm going to show you footage of it. I'm going to show you footage of the beach testing, the underwater testing. I think it was the orange version that went diving with me. You can see the registration of the seconds hand, and it also has a little tiny tritium tip on it, which is super sick. Fairly precise tick-offs. This is obviously a quartz, not an automatic watch. And I'm going to call it a real dive watch, actually, which might surprise some, because they may say, well, you know, 200 meters, non-screw down crown. It's not automatic. The purest demand an automatic watch. I don't at all. I would say it's a dive watch all day long. I actually like quartz movements a lot. They're simple. They're simple. They're actually tuned to be more accurate with your body heat on your wrist. Did you know that? Yeah, I learned that too. I was like, well, I didn't know that. That's cool. So that may explain if you don't wear it for a while and you put it back on, you're like, well, this thing's like a minute and a half off. Well, if you haven't worn it and you hit spin in the rotation, maybe that's why. This one has a Swiss Ronda 515 quartz movement in it, I think. There's some other ones that are running Ronda 517s if you care. They're all good. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Carbon fiber reinforced polymer cases on the Luminoxes. I don't know of any real failures of the case. To me, this is a real interesting philosophical video too, when we consider a lightweight operator's, I'm just using that word because everyone knows what it means, operator's watch. That you don't, in my opinion, have to have 316 stainless steel. Is it nice? Sure, but you're carrying 85 pounds of combat load into action. Do you really want to carry a 6-ounce watch? Be real. No. I mean, if you're knocking around town, who cares? I mean, I'm wearing 5-ounce watches all the time, and I think it's funny. But when I'm carrying a big old pack with ammo, first aid supplies, and food, no way, dude. This is the style of analog watch I'd run. The G-Shocks are all awesome. I love those, and I honestly think those are more military used than any analog watch. I see more Army guys, Navy guys, Air Force guys, Marine guys running G-Shocks than any other watch. And that's from years and years of experience. Myself included, by the way. Yep. Let's look at the bezel. It's a very loud, positive bezel. 60 clicks per revolution. Tritium dial at the top, vial at the top. Nice marker set. So, diveable, absolutely. It's unidirectional. I got no sand in the bezel in water operations in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, this one dove it, and nothing. Now, each one of these has a mineral crystal, which I think you could level, honestly, a criticism. For the price you're spending $200, you're not getting a sapphire crystal. I think that's a fair criticism. I think that Luminox should provide that. I think it'd be higher value, but they're not. That being said, I coated both of these. I think I have them on with my crystal protector, and that isn't the... Well, this one actually is wearing the armor shield one, or the armor suit material. This one is using the previous material I used. Both work fine, but it protected it. I find in scuba diving watches, I put a lot of wear on them. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's like rubbing against a tank, a spear gun, my underwater Glock. No, I didn't carry a Glock. Getting out of the water, going upstairs into the boat. Sometimes it's just a mess, so you're going to put some wear on it. But the case is fine. I don't have an issue with it. Let's look at the strap, shall we? It is a rubber dive strap. Is it long enough to cover a wetsuit? No, not my experience. But I'm running some really thick wetsuits out there in the Pacific because it's freaking cold. I mean, the water can be like 50 degrees where I'm diving. So myself, I mean, I've been shivering down there so bad I had to like just come up. It's insane. But it's a very high quality rubber strap. And here's a pro tip from me to you. What I do with these, because sometimes rubber is so grabby, is I'll actually put Armor All on them. You ever heard of that? And I've Armor All this one, and that way it's not so squeaky if you're EDCing it or if you're wearing it on duty. In the water, it won't count for nothing. But I'm saying sometimes rubber is just really grabby and squeaky, and I don't prefer them. So I'll Armor All it, and it just quiets it down. You might use DuPont 303 or something like that, just some type of protectant. Nice logo in the rubber strap here. Double keepers. I find that it retains well. Big O logo on the single stainless steel clasp, and this is kind of a serious dive band. Now, the push pins are not the type that you can just, pop through the lugs here. But I didn't have them come loose. That's good. They were, pretty firm. And I pulled on this watch pretty good. I'm going to show you a couple band options. We'll just mention that briefly. Now, this might be a second cool hit on it. Someone's going to spend $200 on a watch, and maybe they like to come to the back of the watch and they see, I don't know, a freaking mermaid, a dolphin, a sea monkey, a piranha. I'm being kind of facetious. I think that's cool too. But what you're going to have here is just a flat carbon fiber back and it's 4 screws, so it's not a screw-in case. Does that disappoint you? Well, if you're talking about first cool, it shouldn't. If you're talking about second cool, then yeah, maybe it should. There's the honest answer. But first cool is functionality and lightweight, and so this is what you get. Easily wearable. By the way, I find that it wears very well under long sleeves. And I think this part is titanium, if I'm not mistaken. Look at the Luminox. Great looking watch. Let's consider, shall we, the tritium vials, which Luminox, and we know this from our gun sites, say will be definitely good for 10 years. And usable illumination for, like, I don't know what they say, 25 or something. Oh, I got a light coming on over here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually put inset footage in, because there's a floodlight here in the missile silo that's not turning off. So you can't really see it. But here you go. This is what it looks like. The marker set, the hands, the bezel at night with both of these watches. The cool thing about tritium is, of course, you don't have to fool around and charge them. I mean, that is a big selling point for Luminox watches and watches that are like them. And I have seen in Amazon, by the way, watches that will, of course, copy the Luminox aesthetic. I think some of them could be very cool. Maybe I'll throw a link to them in the bottom. But nothing like the genuine article, nothing like the genuine quality levels of the tritium. So I love the handset. It's really cool. I like the legibility at night at the Luminox. And notice also you'll have a little tiny tritium vial at the 12 o'clock position on your bezel ring. That's a big selling point, of course, of tritium. Let's look at the Black Ops bezel ring. I don't know if we saw that super clearly. So that's darker and it's got that stealthy look to it. But notice it's like matte gray numerals, so you can still read it. So there is some legibility there. Same precise turning. I do use my bezel rings. When I'm wearing a dive watch, I use my bezel rings all the time. And speaking of which, I actually have a solar-powered Seiko SNE 391 on my wrist. And this is funny, and I didn't plan this. I've dove this watch soon. It's fantastic. I got to review it separately. This is not a 200-meter watch. This isn't really a dive watch. It's 100 meters, and it has a fake bezel on it, so you can't even turn it. It's a desk diver. But dang, does it look good. And it's accurate, and it's solar powered. Even better. And this is a replacement band. It actually came with a bracelet on it, and this is like, I don't know, Tangerine Burn or something, a Barton band. So is it worth $200 to go out and get a Luminox? Yeah, I would say it absolutely is. Because this, I think most guys that I've met, like that dude I showed you a picture of, that have the watch, they don't get rid of it. They love it. And this is a great gift watch for your man. Women who might see this, you buy them a Luminox, man. It's freaking awesome. It's a military proven watch. In the quartz movement, I forgot to mention this, was going to run about 2 to 3 years. When you start seeing that seconds hand skip to 4-second intervals, then it's time to change a battery. I would probably just do it myself. I'm not sure what battery the Luminox 8800 series is using, but I'm sure it wouldn't be that big of a deal to swap it out. Just be careful of that O-ring, make sure it seats perfectly. Now these are great gift watches for sure, like I was saying, and they're certified to ISO 2281 down to 200 meters. So that's a serious dive waterproof schedule. The deep divers are going to ISO 6425. So that's something with a screw down crown. It's got a whole bunch of other features that have to make it super dive certified, to summarize it. But for me, and I'm a scuba diver, but not a deep one, it's fine. It's fine. Do I need a deeper watch now? Am I going to go down 200 meters? No. Like I've said before, I'm not using this for diving. It's just for second cool and for EDC. I'll wear it when I'm diving just for, easy track of time. But I'm also wearing my Sunto D4 dive computer, keeping track of dwell time, oxygen, saturation, decompression. Yeah, that's what you dive with. I've said that like 50 times at this point. But it's a military watch, dude, and it's totally worth it. The Point Man, Sentry, Nighthawk, Navy SEAL, and the other ones I talked about, also excellent. But for the money, highly recommended. I got Amazon links below. The more you use them, the more watches I bring to table. As the watch show continues, Man, I like Luminox. Worth it. Worth it. Very cool watches. See ya.